All right. Welcome, guys. We are here for the next edition of our Maker Parent Happy Hour.
What's up?
This is the Meet the Hosts session. So we have all of our session hosts that you guys have been seeing over the past few weeks. And we are all here together tonight to share what we have learned in these few weeks of trying to readjust everything and educating from online and all of that crazy stuff. Mario's here.
Yeah. Super excited to be here. You know, it's just fun watching all this the past couple of weeks, getting to see these projects evolve and the kids that get involved with them and then posting and making these projects. And it's what's so cool about all of you guys is that the project doesn't end at the end of the session. You know, it's something that they take, they tinker and they hack, and then they create something new. And that's my definition as in my show, my magic show. I always talk about innovation is mixing ideas that have never been mixed before, you know, and you guys are constantly introducing that concept and it's really inspiring, you know.
So let's just go through and introduce every one of you. You guys can take the chance. So we're going to start with Sandy, who you guys have seen this week. Sandy, do you want to share a little about what you do and what you've been doing with Maker Camp?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sandy Roberts. I'm a STEM educator and I, for about 15 years now, and I'm a makerspace coordinator for my public library. We're very lucky to have a free makerspace as part of our public library system. So that's where you can find me most days. And I also have, because that's not enough, I like doing what I do. I also have Kaleidoscope Enrichment, which is my business. And so when I get done with the library and all that stuff, I go and do more at schools and homeschool groups and pretty much all those kinds of places. I also wrote the big book of Maker Camp projects because I've been doing Maker Camp since since it originally started. I was one of the very first affiliates for Maker Camp. Awesome. And everything went horribly wrong that year. There were some really epic failures, but you know, I've been at it, and now I bring Maker Camp to you know, your traditional places like schools and library and things like that, but also to farmers markets and steampunk events and the community pool. So I have 3D printed just about everywhere you can imagine, and done robotics and, you know, very crafty things. I tend to be a bit of a generalist, and I just like having fun with kids and doing new things.
So. That's so awesome, Sandy. And I think, you know, you saying like so much went wrong that first session, like that's how we all feel right now with a lot. So I get that, and I appreciate the honesty, because I feel like so many people are just trying to pretend like everything's amazing right now, when for most people it's like, what are we doing? Anyway, let's move on. We have Kelsey and Matt from CodeJoy.
Hi. Hey there. I'm Kelsey Derringer.
I'm Matt Gilbert.
And we are CodeJoy, and so we're an online virtual classroom that focuses on maker activities and coding and robotics and all kinds of cool things like that. And we've developed this whole system that allows us to teach online, where this is what we were made to do. So we weren't quite anticipating all this happening. But hey, we happen to be really good at all of this. So it was a really good partnership to be able to work with Family Maker Camp. So you had asked us to share some of the projects that we had been working on. So this is one. We did a really cool set of lessons last week with this bug expert named Adam Lazarus. We're in Pittsburgh, but he's out in California. And so we made these mechanisms that could move these legs like this, and we can take a little closer look, and they've got some straws and some string, and as you pull on the string, it bends the cardboard. So we have these cool, we were investigating bugs and learning to make stuff with bugs. 2 weeks ago, we worked with this really great puppeteer named Dave English, and we made these little box puppets. Awesome. We made a couple different versions of those. So this guy, when you pull on this string, it opens his mouth, and we performed some box puppetry with that. And then this week, we worked with this amazing artist named Cecilia Hillway, who taught us all about pop-up books. So we were telling jokes via pop-up books. So we've made all these different kinds of cool mechanisms. Why'd the chicken cross the road? To keep her social distance. Oh, look at there. Knock, knock. Who's there? A little old lady. A little old lady who Nice yodeling. Now let me in, right? So I've got a whole book of jokes now that we compiled as of this week. But and then next week we're going to be doing some really cool, some more paper craft and learning to make some paper flowers. But kids can participate live here on Zoom. We keep our classes pretty small, and then we stream that out so that everybody who's watching on Facebook and YouTube can also make live with us. So thanks so much for having us today.
Awesome.
So awesome.
It's been a joy watching you guys because, as you said, this is what you do. So for all of us who are like cobbling together the live stream thing right now and trying to figure it out as we go, like these are the pros that we've been trying to like, how do we get to that? So you guys are amazing.
Yeah,
it's been really cool.
Real inspiring stuff.
So let's move on to have Carl, Dr. Sparks. How's it going?
Hey everyone, yeah, my name is Carl Smith and I perform as Dr. Sparks. I'm a science storyteller. I've been telling stories for a long time and I have a PhD in biophysics. And so I tell stories either with kids or to kids that incorporate science concepts. And so I've got actually two programs on Family Maker Camp now. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing typewriter stories. So I like using technology, and in this case, an older technology.
Nice.
And I get kids to Skype in, actually in the CodeJoy studio, and I ask them for a prompt for some sort of a beginning to a story. And I ask them questions. Together we figure out how the story is going to go, and then I frantically type it up on the typewriter. I read it back to them with silly voices. And actually tomorrow, Cecilia Hillway, the artist who is doing some of the pop-up books that Matt and Kelsey showed you, she's going to be providing illustrations for these stories. So we're going to be kind of making almost children's books on the fly, but the kids are providing the stories. And then I also do this other program called the Martian Explorations, where I lead a role-playing game that happens on the surface of Mars. And Matt is the puppeteer. So this all takes place again in the CodeJoy studio. But so I get 3 kids to zoom in and they play Martian mole, Martian mouse, Martian squirrel, and they solve riddles. They come up with problems to STEM solutions to STEM problems. That's the way it works. And together we kind of figure out this mystery that's taking place on Mars. And I walk them through it, and every week there's a new episode. And that's going to take place on Mondays at 4.
That's awesome. Yeah, we love watching your work, and we've seen your work in the past too. Like it's amazing how you impact kids, you know, and storytelling is such a powerful tool. And the way you use that with modern technology, mixing with the old, is absolutely beautiful, Carl. We're so happy that you're here.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And then we have Andy. Andy, would you mind telling us a little about what we have in store? I know you're going to be doing a session next week, right?
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much. Yeah, so my name's Andy Forrest. I lead a nonprofit here in Toronto, Canada called STEAM Labs. And our mission is to make technology and science accessible to people. So teach them about it and have them solve challenges in their lives and in their communities. For that as an entry point into learning and empowering themselves. So next week, we're going to be doing some things with marble runs. So we've got a bunch of different mechanisms that we've prototyped. And things like this. This is a starting gate for a marble run, so that you can have all of the marbles all lined up and ready to go. And then you press this lever and they all start at the same time. And then for more technology enabled homes and for a more technology interest, we have a servo motor version of this too that could be activated by a servo motor and a Circuit Playground Express or some kind of microcontroller, so that you can say ready, set, go, and then it goes. So that you can expand that, and leading all the way up to some artificial intelligence stuff, because that's what we're focusing on right now, because that's a big gap in kind of the equity piece right now. Is if you don't understand artificial intelligence, then it's going to have control over your lives in ways that are really uncomfortable and unexpected. So we're trying to focus on artificial intelligence. So we're actually going to be building a artificial intelligence judge for the marble runs, so you can see who wins using your webcam and some video capture recognition tech. So we're going to have a lot of fun.
I think that's so smart, Andy. That's something that when I work with teachers and students doing like coding and stuff, and when Matt and I work with teachers, like, you know, if you don't understand coding, if you don't understand how to manipulate the things that you see online, then you're kind of being controlled by it, you know? So like, and there's some really easy entry points to get you into understanding what coding is and how it works. And I had a teacher tell me that the reason that it was really important for her to teach coding to her, she was running a girls program, was like, these a lot of her teenage girls that she was working with, their lives are like completely involved with social media, and those are all algorithms. So you need to understand what an algorithm is to give you a sense of control over your world. Like when you understand how the logic works and how the math works, like it gives you a sense of control over like, well, I could change an algorithm. I could make that different and make it more equitable or make it more interesting. So what you're doing with AI sounds really interesting and important too. I'm really excited to see that next week. That'll be great.
Yes, totally. And by the way, just so folks know, if you guys want to join any of the Zoom sessions, I know CodeJoy does sessions where they have kids actually live in on the Zoom session with them. So does Carl. You go to makercamp.com/events and you'll see all of the info for all of that. And you guys can, I don't know if there's still spots left for the upcoming ones, but if not, keep checking the calendar and you can get on one of those spots. And of course, you can always tune in live via social media, just like you're doing right now.
And it's free. So, this is the time to take advantage of that. It's absolutely free. I wanted to do some shout outs because I see some people commenting. Marcus from Kentucky. Dude, good to see you. These are great families out here. Jennifer Ray in California, another amazing maker family affecting their community, their school. I just want to say, and David Resigui out of Tennessee. He's another great maker, a great family that's always giving to kids. It's good to see all of you guys on here. Colin, I see you out there too. Awesome having you guys on. Means a lot.
So we have a topic I want to pose to you panelists, and whoever wants to take this on, go right ahead. But so as educators, or even just as parents in your own personal lives, like, have you guys encountered a situation, and maybe this is unique to right now because everything is suddenly online, kids are out of schools, but have you encountered a situation where you're trying to teach something or present a concept and it's just not getting through? And how do you redirect and how do you refocus those energy? Because a lot of parents right now I'm hearing are having a hard time adjusting to the new format and getting their kids to get interested in a topic and realizing maybe learning styles are different. Maybe their own parenting style is affecting the way it's teaching. Have you guys encountered anything like this recently?
I think it's so interesting what parents are going through right now. I saw a post where a parent was like, I have 4 kids and 2 devices, and I'm expected to know where they are at all times of the day, and they're supposed to be like on task. What is on task anyway? And it's just like, yeah, that's...
Their music teacher sent me like sheet music. Like, what am I gonna do with sheet music?
Oh, let me just learn to play the clarinet really quick. Sure, I'll just whip that up for you. And it's like, yeah, schools do a lot. Like, I think that teachers are really appreciating everything that a school does, and truly all the systems that schools have created to manage, like, where are these kids at all times of the day kind of thing. But I mean, as for like managing different learning styles and stuff, Matt and I were actually talking with Dale Doherty from the Make community a couple weeks ago, and he said something that has really stuck with me, which is that, like, for the first time, possibly in generations, kids have a choice what they learn. They haven't gotten to choose that in a long time. Yeah. And I think for us as teachers, I can only speak as a teacher, I'm not a parent, but for us as teachers, like, what an opportunity to, like, start with joy, start with engagement, rather than like, we got to teach math, but how can we make it engaging? Nope, can't start with stuff that doesn't engage your kids, because they'll just say like, I had no internet today, bye. Like, that's really easy to fake, you know? So like, starting with what is interesting to you. What are you into? Are you into Minecraft? Are you into Star Wars? Are you into My Little Pony? Like, what are you into? We got to start there and start with that engagement and start with joy and start with student choice, because for the first time in generations, they're realizing that they have a choice in the matter. So, I mean, I think that, like, I was talking with a parent who was saying that, like, I really wanted them to come to your CodeJoy session on Tuesday, but it was really nice outside and they wanted to go play outside, and I tried to get them to come in, but they wouldn't. And I was like, good, great, go, like, smell a flower and stuff, and, like, we'll be here next time. You can watch us later, but, like, yeah, you got to go with what they want to do right now. You know, you got to start with engagement and joy.
It's really interesting because I'm so used to, as a educator, you know, when kids start to hit that point of frustration or running out of ideas or they're struggling, to like pair them up with other kids and maybe an older child or a younger child to inspire them. And you know, you can do that when you're all together in a place, and that comes very naturally, but trying to figure out how to do that in a virtual environment can be a whole different animal. And I think, you know, my own kids, especially my youngest, she is really struggling with not being with her classmates every day and having them to kind of bounce ideas off of and share experiences with. And 1 hour on Zoom is not really doing the same. So it's been interesting to kind of watch her and my eldest daughter and even my husband, who's working from home, kind of recreate those networks very slowly and kind of find ways to work together and to share what we're all doing. And my husband now is starting to do more projects just for his own enjoyment because he doesn't have a 5-hour commute every day. And it's like trying to find those little positive things where how can we connect and recreate those systems that are not there right now because we're all in an online community. So it's been really kind of interesting from both sides to try and figure that out.
Yeah, I think tap into something really important is that it's this new dynamic where all of a sudden people that have full-time jobs, they're home and then their kids are home too, you know, and we see that a lot during, you know, and like, not everyone is like, you know, we travel with our kids, but it's this thing with all of our neighbors, you know, we're all in it together. Like, how do we do this learning thing and still do work and still get paid, you know?
Yeah. And for us, and the difference is like for us homeschooling, it was a choice. And then we also have a choice in the curriculum. And a lot of parents right now are facing this, like they have to keep up with what the teachers are giving them. And a lot of parents are also opting out at this point. They're like, it's impossible. So there's so much push and pull there. But
I'm sorry, but you know, I have a kid with special needs. And so I've had to be really honest with her teachers and with, you know, the principal and everything, and just say, you know, some of this isn't going to work for her. Today, she wanted to sit and draw manga all day, and that's what she's going to do. And you know what? She's learning a lot from it. She's writing stories from it. And you kind of have to just be a little bit more flexible right now, I think. Yeah. All of us are learning that, you know?
Being flexible is key.
And all of us, I mean, if you look at just this panel of hosts, like a lot of us get to play for a living in a lot of ways, you know? It's like, what can we show these kids? It's like, it's okay to play, you know?
Yeah, I want to hear from Andy too, because I know, Andy, you have a big, you know, you have kids and you know, I'm just curious, like the whole adjustment with everything that's happened and, you know, how are you
I have a lot of kids of a lot of different ages, from teenagers down to 6 years old. And the student-led learning is a really big focus for us. But just one thing I wanted to add is just about resiliency. And I think that one of the biggest things that I've found an opportunity in this crisis is to just work with my kids on resiliency, because it's as stressful for everybody and it's different and we have to adapt, and it's stressful for the adults too. And it's hard for us too. And so there's been so many good opportunities for me and my wife and all of the people in our family to talk together about resiliency. And actually I've seen some really amazing growth from even the smallest kids on that as a skill, which has been really great.
That's so awesome. And we have a question from the audience, by the way, and I'm going to pose this to Dr. Sparks, because I know you had some thoughts about it. But so the question is from John Espen. He says, okay, if you were only to have 5 tools to craft with for the rest of your life, what would those 5 things be?
Yeah, well, I really think you can do anything with cardboard and hot glue. So I would probably say if I had 5 tools, that seems a little excessive, honestly. I'd probably get cardboard, a pair of scissors, and then maybe like 3 really nice matching hot glue guns. Yeah, maybe just a pair of matching hot glue guns.
It's a great answer.
There you go.
I love it. I love it.
And same, Carl. We just need cardboard, hot glue, maybe a marker so you can, like, I don't know, draw some googly eyes on it. Scissors or a blade and some tape. Man, you're set. You got it. You can conquer the whole world with that. You got it.
Look at you guys, Kojoy. You got the camera angles. It's so cool, man.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, we've been preparing for this for our whole lives.
And Sandy mentioned duct tape too. That's a good one.
Yeah, you can fix anything with duct tape.
Our kids, like, they use a massive amount of tape throughout each and every day. Like,
Yeah,
it's just,
but we have a lot of different kinds of tape, like gaff tape, duct
It's just
tape, tinker's
taping
tape.
things
It's
all the
always
time.
I went through so much duct tape over the summer that duct tape, the company actually just sends me boxes at this point. That's how much duct tape I use.
I remember that was the thing that I would have to, like, the thing that I would have to hide in my classroom the most was the tape. Because I would turn around and a kid would be like with the tape or whatever. I'd be like, oh my gosh, no, like, you can't. Like, we have constructive uses for this, friends. That's making a piggy nose is a one time. You get to do that once throughout the school year.
So this is kind of related. So I had a question on our Facebook page just from a parent who was asking for organizational tips. And she was saying, how do you deal with the mess that comes with making? They're having a hard time. Like, I honestly, I said,
Well,
like,
we're going to say that we don't know.
we cannot answer this.
Our family is just,
I got nothing. My kitchen table's constantly covered with stuff, always.
I don't know. You
So if
guys,
any of you are
Lots
particular,
and lots of bins, little bins, big bins, organize it into all the.
behind you, we got shelving, there's all kinds of nice organized. Look at all that filament behind you. You got a good spool of like.
I know, I'm having filament envy. That's a lot of filament envy.
Amazing. That's amazing.
We're in this really, like, it's actually, it looks like a big space, but it's actually a small space. I mean, it's about, we've got this whole space, and then we've got, if we can show your set, Dr. Sparks, we've got that whole space off to the side as well. When we're talking about the Martian explorations, that's what Mars looks like. Those are our cardboard puppets. Awesome. So we've got two kind of separate studios and a director's area and a pegboard area. I mean, I think, like, Matt does such a good job with, like, so little space. We're running two separate shows out of this little space. Like, learn. I don't know how to do this, but Matt does. Ask Matt how to build shelves. That's what you need to learn how to do. You need to learn how to build shelves and get real friendly with your Home Depot. And I can stain wood now. Thanks for teaching me that. But I don't know how to build as much with it. But, like, build shelves, get a pegboard and hang stuff on it. I mean, if you have the ability to kind of do that, but also just little things like, I mean, just cleaning up at the end of each. This is a small space and it gets a little dusty sometimes because we're, cutting stuff, but, like, just at the end of each day, like, tidying up and putting things back where they are, it just doesn't get nearly so out of control. It's the thing that,
the kids in that cleanup step too.
What's that, Angie?
Say again.
I was just saying to involve the kids in that cleanup step, like, that's just part of it. You just organizing your stuff. If you make them part of the team for organizing and cleaning up, it's just so much easier.
That's awesome.
Make
So
a big mess and then do a big cleanup.
So we have another question about backyard projects. And I know Sandy did an awesome upcycled gardening session, which if you guys didn't catch the live session for that, super, like, go back and watch the replay. We loved it so much, but maybe Sandy or someone else has another idea about other backyard projects, outside stuff.
We definitely have some more gardening projects coming up. I'll get out there and show you guys my chickens at some point, and we'll be talking about some different stuff that you can do outside in your backyard. I'm a bio person as well, so and we've also got some fun stuff like some PVC marshmallow shooters and things like that we'll be doing. Maybe roasting some marshmallows. So yeah, good outside stuff coming up.
Oh, so cool.
I love dealing with water outside too. Just you could get little bilge pumps for like $20 and hook them up to a power supply and just get water moving around and get tubes connected to it. And especially with young kids, they'll play endlessly with connecting and reconnecting water and pipes.
And plus, then you get to say the word bilge, which is fun. Everyone should get to do that.
Oh, totally.
I did a whole project once on a stream where we just brought junk and the kids made sailboats, and then they had to figure out how to stop the sailboats from ending up like in the next town. And there you go. That was an afternoon done.
That's awesome. I love it.
And then follow up for Andy that we have from the audience is saying, how exactly do you get the children involved in the cleaning up process?
Yeah.
Yes, good point. You definitely need a hook. So if they can't go a physical hook or a metaphorical hook. If there's something that they want to move on to, then we can't do that until we clean up. That's always a good thing to build into the process. But also, I think just having them understand, like, we want to be able to do another project tomorrow or after lunch or whatever, and we won't be able to unless we clean up all this stuff. So we just need to organize it and enlist their intention so that they want to be cleaning up so that you can build something else later.
It was a great,
just making them part of the team. You know, just like saying we're a team. You're part of the team. This is what the team does. Like getting that pack mentality, that like herd mentality. We're meant to exist in groups because we can do stuff together, right? That's a little philosophical for like a 5-year-old, but I mean, like we want to do things together, right? So like engage them in that like togetherness sort of feeling.
Yeah. Show me that it was a good idea to let you make that huge mess with that paint by cleaning it up so that we could do something like that next time.
Yeah.
I love it. And this is a topic that we had talked about in one of the other parent sessions, but it would be awesome to revisit it because it's something that everyone's facing right now. We're all at home together with our families. So how do we include all of the kids and parents together in one project that's going to be like do you do a lot of that, Andy, since you have so many different age ranges in your house? And how do you find the roles for each person in your family?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I always start with the interests of the kids that are participating in the project for sure. So, and then I look for opportunities to pounce on for where their interest is wandering. So just a couple of days ago that they found a invisible ink writing pen and they were scribbling. These are 6-year-olds. They were scribbling poo and pee and delighting and being able to see this with the invisible writing. So I just pounced on that and said like, well, how does that work? And they had no idea. And so then we started creating projects around that to investigate how invisible ink works. And I happened to have a lot of LEDs of different colors, including ultraviolet LEDs. And I had them test it one by one until they found the LED that would light up the invisible ink, and then build on that. What could we do to build a project around this? This is kind of like a superpower, being able to see invisible ink. This was around Easter. So could we make like an Easter character that has superpowers to see invisible ink that you write messages to the Easter bunny perhaps, and then they can see it? And then we ended up 3D printing Easter bunnies with holes for the eyes and battery slots, and just add more and more and more. And they learned about ultraviolet light and different light frequencies and all of these things as we went along. So that's my main strategy. I didn't really answer your question about the different ages of kids.
Oh, okay. Someone was asking, do your older kids help teach the younger kids? Is that a dynamic you see happening naturally?
Sometimes it is. Yeah, it depends again on their interest. Yeah, one of the older kids, Dia, she's been really amazing at playing with the kids and interacting with the younger kids. She like genuinely is very joyful with that. So that connects really well. So we're just one project we're working together on as a family, which is it's a hand washing timer that can do a LED display to help you measure the 20-second countdown. And so the older kids are designing the enclosure and they're helping with the electronics because they've worked with the sensor before. So they have some knowledge that they can bring to it. And then the little kids are designing kind of the patterns of lights that are going to go on the screen and making sketches for how they think this could work. And so just trying to look for ways that they could contribute to the larger project and all feel important, because that display of what happens with the lights is really important too. And that's where their skills can fit in with that.
That's awesome.
I'm actually hearing from teachers that that in this different format, because kids aren't being shuffled from one room to the next one every 35 minutes, you know, and I mean, in school, that's been such a limiting factor as for maker spaces and STEM labs and stuff like that, is like, well, when are we going to do it? We got to fit it between this and this. And so you have a 40-minute class period, but it takes this many minutes to come in, and then they're moving on to the next thing. And so you really have 20 minutes to do something. Not right now. You have a whole day ahead of you. And the way that a lot of teachers are able to interact with their students is like, here's what's coming up next week, kind of go at your own pace. This is due Friday, if they're even doing due dates, you know. But the feedback that I've been hearing from teachers is like, I have to move to more project-based learning. this is forcing something that has been an educational best practice for a long time, but a lot of schools haven't felt the space to do that. And they have to do it now because you've got to have something that you can give them one little bit of information or one prompt, and they have to be able to go at it for hours. And like, what is that? It's project-based learning. You know, it's the same stuff that I'm sure Sandy has been referencing. Like, I'm sure there are so many things in the big Maker Book of Maker Things. I'm sorry that I have the title wrong. But like, I'm sure there are so many project-based things in there that teachers could say, work on this. And it's like, it could be 20 minutes or it could be 3 hours if you really dive into it, you know. But I've been hearing project-based learning coming up in a way that I'm so happy to hear. Yes, finally, this is the weirdest reason to do it, but yes, do it, you know.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. And I think, you know, I know there's a lot of crazy, scary stuff happening right now. You know, we're all learning how to deal with this stuff, but there's so much beautiful stuff happening right now that years to come we're going to reflect on. And I think that's a big part of it, is that like my daughter, you know, she's 8 and she learned how to make coffee, you know, so now she doesn't like wake us up in the morning. She goes, it's coffee. But like, it's for us. But no, I'm saying I've never done stuff like that, you know, and she's learning how to fry eggs, you know, and like these things that are life skills, but they're educational. And I never thought of it like this until being all stuck in the house, you know, where we are.
It was when I got sick. And I was sick for about 2 weeks. And during that time, like, and as a mom and maybe as a woman, I don't know what it is about me but I have that thing in me where I want to do everything in the household. And I have a very hard time, like, letting go of responsibilities and letting Mario do things that he's very capable of doing and parenting. Household stuff.
I cooked some pretty bad meals.
He's terrible. But I got sick and I couldn't do anything. And Mario taught himself how to cook, you know, like,
you make it sound like I can make pasta, you know.
he made like Japanese ramen, like,
yes, I did.
That
yeah, that's true.
You know, I'm like, come on, man, like, these are it was a lesson for me to like let go. Not just with Mario, but let the kids like do things. Like, an 8-year-old can cook. An 8-year-old can get up there and work the stove. You might want to help them out with the burners and whatever, but they can do it, you know?
Yeah.
But so we have another question. So this is a question from Ryan Johnson. He's asking, how do you balance introducing your kids to multiple creative outlets, to finding something they like, versus teaching the value of sticking with something? And I know that's a hard balance because there are those tenets that we want them to learn and they might not want to learn them. So Sandy, did I see you?
Yeah, this one we grapple with a lot, but the thing I always go back to, and this was kind of passed on to me by one of the counselors my eldest worked with years ago, was, you know, did you give it your best effort? Like, were you your very best self? And if you were, and you really felt like you gave it everything that you were able to give, that you were able to interact with it and engage with it as best as you felt like you could, then all right, you can move on. Like, if you really feel like you need to move on, move on. If you're not interested in that anymore. But we always try to make sure that, like, were you being your very best Sandy? Were you being your very best Carl? And did you give it your very best effort? Okay. You know, and sometimes just sitting and asking that will give them a new way to look at it and to look at what you're trying to work on. My daughter with piano, that was the whole thing. She kind of got to this point where learning scales was just a pain in the neck. She didn't like it. It's like, yeah, but are you really practicing as much as you said you were going to? Did you really give it your best effort? And once she kind of realized she wasn't and tried that for a couple of days, then she broke through that skill level and was able to move on to the next thing. And that made all the difference. Now she was engaged herself and now she had her own passion for it. And she realized that she could overcome those challenges. So, I mean, that's one thing that we talk about a lot in my family.
That's awesome. I love it. Awesome. When we do similar things, like, it's really about, like, are you trying? We just want to see that you're trying your best. You know, there's no stress of like getting answers right or whatever. We just want to see that you're trying.
And that's something we have to unlearn too, you know, because I feel like with the education system, sometimes, like, my daughter, you know, with reading and stuff, it was really hard for her, you know, and we were looking back at my old records. We found my old kindergarten report card, and like, it was bad, you know, because like every little noise I make, that's, you know, I would be distracted so easily and all that.
It was bad. The teacher was bad. He wasn't bad. A 5-year-old can't be bad. It's the teacher. Like, it's terrible, you know? Like, it was just heartbreaking.
But anyway, yeah. So like that's right. So yeah, now I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah. Well, we're all on point. We're all on point.
But, you know, during our pre-chat, we were talking about the inquiry. And I know Andy had an awesome graphic. It's kind of like a 3-step thing. Oh, there you go.
Nice.
You want to walk us through that?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, so this is just an infographic we made just actually for informal education, like for parents. And there's this topic of inquiry learning that's in education circles, but it's really approachable. And you could really break it down into these kind of 3 steps. And there's lots of ways to encourage each one of these steps. So the first step is really this investigation step where you're teaching by asking questions, really. You're just encouraging them to look at the world, and you're guiding them with thought-provoking questions to investigate things and figure out what challenges there are in around different topics, and play with things and investigate things. And in our formal classes, not very formal, but in our, as opposed to the things I'm doing with my family now, but in our makerspace classes with STEAM Labs, we have kind of hooks to move them along from between these steps. So the question from Ryan was really good about how do you get them to stick with something. So the way that we get kids to stick with one idea when they just have an explosion of ideas in this investigate step and try to get them to move on to the create step is we tell them, I'm not going to give you any parts and I'm not going to let you cut anything until you have a plan. And by making them do that, write it down and form a plan that is something that is possible to execute, it takes that cloud, it's kind of like collapsing the cloud of quantum possibilities into a single possibility for them. It's very magical. It makes them want to move forward with that one idea. And then in that create step, you're getting them to create it. I always tell our teachers, like the guiding point for the teachers here is keep your hands in your pockets. Don't do it for them. They're going to develop those skills by doing the work themselves. And then your job is their coach now. You're their mentor, their collaborator, their coach. You're not the font of all knowledge. So you're going to point them to resources and collaborators and ways to create the thing. But if they can't do it, if at the end of the day, they're just they just don't want to use a saw, then you could figure out some other way to do it, or they don't do it. This is about developing those capabilities. And then the next step.
Teachers who are transitioning into this more sort of inquiry-based mindset, that advice, keep your hands in your pockets, is so wise because like it feels different to teach like this, right? Like it feels like you're not doing anything because you're not talking, you know,
yeah.
But like you have to get really interested in listening to your students and in watching them, and you have to get comfortable with a little bit more silence, and you have to get comfortable with wrong answers, and you have to get comfortable with watching your students be frustrated and knowing deep in your gut that they'll get through it if they can practice being frustrated and getting through it. That keep your hands in your pocket is so brilliant, Andy. I love that.
Yeah, that's like, I think I have to make a t-shirt out of that.
Nice.
I mean, I think we couldn't end on a better note than that. Such great advice. Thank you guys all who tuned in to this live session. We're going to keep the replay up. So if you enjoyed it, please share it, tag friends, all of that stuff. And thanks to all of our awesome hosts.
Yeah, absolutely awesome.
You guys are really inspiring to us.
And us having kids, and you know, we follow along all the tutorials, and for everyone watching, you know, makercamp.com, you can sign up right now. It's completely free, and there's amazing live stuff happening throughout the week. These are the faces right here. So check it out. Join the Family Maker Camp Facebook group too, where there's a lot of great stuff going on, because it's not just dedicated to Maker Camp. There's people putting tutorials that just inspire them, so that we all just share as a community, because the goal is to keep everything open source. That's the whole purpose of this, you know, is if there's something that we can learn from, let's just post it on the Family Maker Camp Facebook group. This has been absolutely awesome. What a great night. Thank you for all the inspiration. You guys just super inspiring. You guys are changing the world, you know, bringing the next generation up into something so positive and awesome. Mario the Maker Magician, this is my wife, Katie. Yep. And we're signing off.
Thank you.
We'll
guys
see you guys.
so much.
All right.
Bye, everyone.